right. Also going to share my screen here and we will get going. Got to get all the technology to work right. That's what Dan and I were talking about a few minutes ago. Well, I am thrilled that you all could be here today. For those of you that I don't know, my name's Elizabeth King. I have a PR and marketing firm here in Tulsa. The What Works marketing webinar series really got started because of some of the questions I was getting from just people I was talking to and some clients of mine. So a lot of the people that I've been talking to are people that are doing marketing, but they want to do a little bit better. You know, they're confused or overwhelmed with all the different options, and they don't know what's right for their business. You know, is it social media? Is it print? Do we need video? And a lot of them, they don't know where to start, and they need a little bit more guidance. You know, I've talked to other companies that they're frustrated because they are doing different marketing tactics, but they're not seeing the ROI that they want. You know, they're either not getting foot traffic, they're not being found online, maybe their sales are slumping, and they're really afraid that they're wasting time and money on things that just aren't working, or maybe the wrong message. And then some other people I've talked to, you know, they may have great messaging, but maybe there's too many people involved. Maybe the secretary is sending the newsletter and somebody else is doing the social media, and maybe a third person is doing something else, and it's all really disjointed, and the message just isn't as effective as you want it to be. Can any of you relate to any of that? Well, that's where this really came about, is because I, as a solopreneur, there are things that I really specialize in, and I love planning, and I love helping people get, you know, really achieve their business goals by really creating a strong marketing strategy that pulls in all kinds of different tactics that really are going to help achieve your goal. And I do that because I partner with experts like Dan, who you're going to talk to today. And I create the right team to really, like I said, help reach those goals. So what I wanted to do with this series is to, again, partner with some of these experts in the industry to really give you some real insights into what marketing tactics are really effective right now. What do your customers want? And how can you be more effective with your marketing? And so today we are going to talk about, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about marketing strategy versus tactics. But Dan is going to talk to us about what makes an effective marketing video, you know, where your video should be used, how it should look, how you develop an emotional connection with your audience. And then we're going to open it up at the end for a Q&A. So as I said, I wanted to talk about kind of marketing strategy versus tactics. And so what we're talking today about video is one of the tactics that's involved in a full-blown strategy for your marketing efforts. And that's where we are today. But really, to create a good marketing strategy, you've got to start with the basics. You've got to know who you are as a company. You know, what's your identity? What are your unique selling points? What makes you stand out in the market? Equally as important is understanding who are your ideal customers. You know, who are they? What do they believe in? What are their values? You know, where are they? Where do they get their communication messages? Those are all really important. The next part is your goals. And a marketing strategy should absolutely align with your business goals. So what are your goals for the year? And then how do you break that down into smaller marketing goals to help achieve that big goal? And depending on what that goal may be, that's where you pick the different tactics to use. And that's pulling all of those different tactics together is really how you create that strategy. Now, once you implement and execute the plan, where I find a lot of people fail or miss the mark is that evaluation at the end. You know, they'll do things and then they'll be really frustrated that, you know, they're not seeing the results that you wanted, or you thought, well, this tactic is going to work because it works for somebody else's company. Well, maybe you need to go and reevaluate that. Maybe it needs to be tweaked, or maybe that's just not where your customers are. And so just the 5 keys, this is kind of a system that I use with all of my clients, and just wanted to make sure that you saw how video that we're talking about today plays into a bigger part of your marketing plan. So I am super excited today that Dan Bewley is with us to talk, because he's really quite, what I'm most impressed with Dan is his approach to video. Now, I don't know if any of you have ever had a marketing video that you started out and in your mind, it was going to be one thing and you wanted it to accomplish this. And then you get the final product and you're like, oh, that's not what I asked for at all. Well, I've been burned by that several times. And what I love about Dan is his process for walking you through a video and creating something and being on the same page as you and creating the storyboard and really being aligned. So your video is going to be exactly what you want it to be and what you need it to be. And so at this point, I am very excited to introduce Dan Bewley. Dan works with mission-driven organizations to help them grow using the power of video. Dan's passion for storytelling through video stems from his 25 years in TV news, telling a variety of stories from across the country. He's seen smart organizations make videos just to make videos without a plan, resulting in them missing the mark. Dan's unique career has given him the insight to find stories that connect with viewers, to make them feel, and to get up and move in support. And so with that, I am going to turn this over to Dan.
All right, thank you very much, Elizabeth, and thanks everybody for joining us today. I'm really excited to be here. I was really excited to be invited to be part of this webinar series. I think that video is such a powerful tool. As I get ready to set my screen here, it's hard to talk and do things all at once, right? Video is such a powerful tool. It can really cause your customers, your supporters, to just get up and move and do things and do what you want them to do. And you have such a power when you are producing a video and you're putting a video out there. You have such power to really get in the emotional, well of your viewers and get them to move in support of you. So that's what this is all about, is planning the perfect video. And as Elizabeth said, I spent 25 years in TV news as an anchor, as a reporter, a photojournalist, and an editor. So I've told all types of stories, good and bad, positive and negative, reported on all kinds of things from across the country. And I've really seen how video can be used as a powerful storytelling device. So today we're going to talk about some of the different things that you need to think about when you are putting together a video. So before we talk about all that, I want to tell you what we're not here. We're not here to talk about TikTok. That is something completely different. We are here to talk about videos that you produce, that you think about, that you plan out, that could take, upwards of months to put together, just because you want everything from the way it looks to the way it sounds to the way it feels. You want it to be perfect. This isn't the type that you're just going to grab your cell phone and go out and shoot some video real quick of your widget company. This is a planned video and how to put that together. So I call this For All the Feels, because that's what this is all about. This is all about feeling. It's all about getting your audience to feel something. So just some stats just to think about here real quick. People watch an average of 100 minutes of video online every day. Just think about yourself, what you're doing when you're if you're sitting in your car, you're waiting for your kid to come out from school, or you're waiting for that load of laundry to finish. You might grab your phone and just look at it real quick. So people watch an average of 100 minutes of video online every day. Last year, 96% of people increased their online video consumption. And that is probably, when I put this together just a month ago, that stat has probably gone up even more for this year, because people every year, more and more people are watching more and more video. It's getting easier and easier and easier to watch video. And then 9 out of 10 viewers want more videos from brands and businesses. So again, think about your consumption of videos. You support brands, whether it's local brands, national brands, and you probably have seen videos produced by those organizations that support their organizations. And that's something that you probably would like to see more of, and you enjoy watching that. So as we go through this, just kind of think of your own habits, what you do, how you consume media. 75% of videos are watched on mobile devices. I don't think that's a shock at all. I mean, everybody's always got their phone with them, no matter where they're at, what they're doing. It's just the easiest way to watch a video. There are some, of course, I mean, who watch them on their laptop, or maybe stream it to their smart TV or something like that. But we're talking 75%. I mean, that's 3/4 of the people watching videos on mobile devices. 70% of millennials, which is ages 25 to 40, so that's the prime consumer age. That's the age that marketers and advertisers are looking for. 70% of millennials prefer to watch in portrait mode. Now, portrait mode, for those who don't know, is, you see this image on the screen right now, that is in portrait mode. That's how most of us watch the video. So if we take, the phone like this, but this, we twist it, that's landscape mode. But most everybody watches them in portrait mode. And the important for that is, if you look at the image that is in this picture, that University of Tulsa season ticket, that image is a square image. It's essentially 1:1, 1:1, or 1080 by 1080, 720 by 720. It is a square image. It fits perfectly within that feed of that for what Tulsa is trying to get out there. And so we're going to talk a little bit about this later. So when you're producing a video, if you know that your video is going to be mostly like 90% or 80% on social media, it's important to present it to where it's viewer friendly, because the whole goal, you want your viewers to watch the video. You want them to make it to the end, or at least through 50% of it. You want them to watch that video. You don't want them to go away. So you want everything that you do, whether it's the sound or whether it's the look, you want it to be perfect. And so if you know your video is going to go primarily on social media, I think it's important to have your video produced in a square format, 1:1, 720 by 720, 1080 by 1080, just in that square format, so that it fits right there in that feed. It's easier for the viewer to watch. It's easier for them to pay attention to what's going on. Now, the key with that is that when you're doing that, you have to produce it that way. You can't just shoot a regular video and then force it into the square format, because then you're going to end up with black lines on the top or the bottom or the sides, however it is you decide to frame it. You have to start out knowing, before you press record, I want this final product to be in that square format. That's something very important as we go through the planning process. And then 80% of viewers watch videos with their sound turned off. So that means closed captions are extraordinarily important. You want every video that you put on social media to have closed captions. The other option is animated text. We've all seen those videos where the text kind of flies onto the screen, flies off the screen, and it tells the story. So it's not really closed captioning. It's just this animated text that flows in and out of the screen. And I always get hooked when I'm waiting to pick up my son from school. I always get hooked on those videos that talk about, the dogs that were rescued at the side of the road, and you see their transformation. And I love those videos. They're easy to consume. They're quick. They're all in that square format. They all have that animated text that comes in that says, we found Ginger out by the fast food store, and look at her, she's in horrible shape. But then she goes to this family, and then she goes to the vet, and then now look, she's running on the beach. And those are great stories. And part of that is because it's, again, it's in that square format and it has the animated text that tells the story. So there's nobody talking. The only audio is some background music. It's just that text, and I have to read it. I have to pay attention to it. And so most people watch those videos with their sound turned off. So if you're not going to do the closed captioning, but you want some animated text on there, that's important to help tell your story, to move it forward. Again, the whole goal is you don't want the viewer to go to the next thing on their feed, because you're not just competing against people that are in your industry on social media. You're competing against every other feed, every other post that's on social media. So you don't want that person to say, oh, I'm bored, I'm going to go to the next thing. I'm bored with this video. You want them to stay there. So you plan that out through closed captioning or through producing it in that square format. This is my guiding principle. This is when I am producing a video, this is what everything is based on. Viewers remember how they felt, not what they learned. So when the video is done, if your video was full of really cool, interesting stats or stats that you think are really interesting, 90% of the time, the viewer's not going to remember that. They're not going to have any idea about that. If you can go to their emotions and that emotion and make them feel something, and that emotion can be anything. It can be sad, it can be inspiration, it can be comic, it can be sentimental. I mean, it can be anything you want it to be, but how you make the viewer feel is how they are going to remember. And if you put a bunch of stats out there because you're so proud of your widget company and you produce all these widgets every year and every day, and you serve in all these markets and all this kind of stuff, the viewer is going to feel overwhelmed. That's how they're going to feel. And so that's what they're going to take away from that. They're going to be like, whew, I am glad that video is over, which is the last thing you want. You want the viewer, when they're watching this, to want to think, man, I want to learn more. I want to know more about this. So this, for me, is just the guiding principle. Viewers remember how they feel, not what they learned. So always keep that in mind as you're moving forward. Now, there are two kinds of videos out there, and they no matter what your video is that you're putting together, it either falls in an informative or a narrative. Informative is just that. It informs the viewer. It tells the viewer, hey, this is my widget company. This is what we do. This is what we sell. This is where we sell it. This is how you can buy it. Narrative kind of takes you into the brand through the back door. Narrative tells the story. Narrative is the one that pulls out the emotions. There are places for both videos. And I think it's good for a good organization to have videos, multiple videos, some that are informative, some that are narrative, because you are going to have viewers that are more interested in the informative than they are in the narrative, and vice versa. So let's take a look. I've got two videos here that are examples of informative and narrative. Now, these are extremes. I'll be honest with you. These are extreme examples, but let's go ahead and watch this here.
Hi, Phil Swift here for Flex Tape Clear, the super strong waterproof tape that's clearly the best way to patch, bond, seal, and repair. Flex Tape's triple thick adhesive instantly bonds to the surface, stopping the toughest leaks while remaining virtually invisible. Plus, Flex Tape Clear is so strong, it even works underwater. Now you can repair pools and spas with a clear, watertight seal, and even make quick repairs without changing the look of your beautiful surfaces. Now it's easy to fix rips and tears. Plus, Flex Tape Clear holds on tight, even when wet. Flex Tape Clear is perfect for emergency auto repairs and lets light pass right through boats, campers, trailers, and RVs. Now everything in plain sight can be sealed watertight. To show you the power of Flex Tape Clear.
I'm going to go ahead and stop this real quick because we could watch this for another minute, but I think we kind of get the point. But if you take a look at this video, I mean, there is no doubt what he is trying to sell, right? He's got flex tape on his shirt. He's got flex tape in the background. And then right here in the bottom right-hand corner is what's called a bug that says flex tape. But so that's an informative video. I mean, he's telling folks, this is what flex tape is. This is what it does. These are all the awesome things about it. That is an example of an informative video. Here is a narrative video.
Happy birthday to you. Make a wish. Granny.
Hello.
Have you done your homework? Adam.
That's fine.
Ready or not? Here it comes.
Violent clashes with British live ammunition against
Deserve to get shot.
Have a nice day, Grandma.
airstrikes on rebel position.
We are going to stay.
Happy birthday to you. Make a wish, darling.
So that is a example of a narrative video. I want to show you just one thing real quick. So it, well, possum. That was an interesting freeze frame there. But that came to the brand through the back door. It didn't really know what that was about. The only thing is right here in the bottom right-hand corner, and I didn't notice it until I watched this about 6 or 7 times. There's a little bug that says Save the Children. That's the only thing on the screen that indicates to you what this is for. So again, that is, again, it's an extreme version, but it's an extreme version of a narrative video going to the brand through the back door. And you can see how it really talked and played to the emotions of the viewer. So I'm just curious, just kind of think to yourself, of those two, which did you like better? Was it the narrative? Was it the informative? And then think about how that can tell the story, and how that can tell the viewer, your audience, the people you are marketing to, what your organization is all about. I mean, for me, there is a place for that informative, but for that narrative one, to me, really it makes you feel something. Again, it goes back to what we talked before. People remember how they felt, not what they learned. All right, so when you're preparing your video, you need to ask these questions. Who is your audience? What age group are they? Is it primarily male? Is it primarily female? Is it a group that is specific to, maybe they're sports fans, maybe they are people who you're trying to get to donate to your nonprofit or to your organization. Who is this video for? And then think about what they want to see, how they consume the media, how they consume the video. Think about that as you're preparing. Where will your video be shown? Is this something that is only going to be on social media? Is this something that is going to be emailed out with a link? Is this something that's going to be shown to a live audience? Maybe this is a fundraiser or some type of a presentation where you're going to have a live audience. And that the answers to that question determine, is it, if it's social media, do you want just that square? Do you want closed captions? Is it a live event? And also social media is the length. You know, do you want it, because you don't want it to be too long on social media, because your viewer will then scroll on to the next item. Is it, or is it going to be a fundraiser? Is it going to be a live event where you're going to have for lack of a better phrase, a captured audience, an audience that can't scroll on to the next thing because they're in this room with you. And so maybe then you want it to be the traditional 1920 by 1080 landscape format. And maybe then you don't need closed captioning for that. So, and then maybe then it can be a little bit longer. You're not too worried about the length because you know your audience is right there and they're not going anywhere. So that has a lot to play with. It has a lot to do with how the answers to that question, where will your video be shown, determines a lot of how it's going to look. And then how do you want the viewer to feel? Do you want them to feel inspired? Do you want them to feel sad? Do you want them to feel motivated? Do you want them to laugh a little bit? Do you want them to show, maybe your company, your organization has got this lighter side. Do you want them to feel that lighter side? How do you want the viewer to feel? And then that determines what video you're going to show, who is going to be on camera, what they're going to say, what type of music you're going to use. And for me, the music it's another character. It helps bring out that emotion. If I want somebody to feel inspired, I'm going to use some inspiring music. If I want somebody to feel to have a good time, it's going to be some good time music. It just depends on how you want the viewer to feel. Again, to me, that's the bottom line. That question rules everything. So who should be on camera when you're deciding who you want to interview, who you want to be seen, who should you put on camera? Well, first of all, forget the CEO, forget the president, forget that person. The only person who definitely wants the CEO to be on camera is the marketing or the public relations director. The viewer, unless you're sending this video out to an audience of other CEOs, the viewer doesn't care to hear about the CEO. Now, there are certain situations where it is important that the viewer needs to hear from the person at the top. But I would say most of the time, the viewer really doesn't want to see the CEO. They want to hear from somebody else. So who's impacted? Who's working? If you're talking about your widget company, maybe you want to show the people on the assembly line building the widget, the people doing the work, the drivers, that kind of thing. So viewers, when they watch these videos, they want to see themselves. So whoever your target audience is, those are the people who need to be on camera. So if you are putting together a video that you want to encourage people to make donations to a nonprofit or to some type of a mission-driven organization, then what you want to tell the story from the people who you want to include two people in that. You want to include some past donors who have donated and have seen their donations make a big difference in someone's life and said, I donated this, whether it was money or items. I donated this and I see how it's helping all these amazing people. And that is a wonderful feeling. And that's like, you can feel this way too. And then you also want to tell the story of the people who get impacted. Who is the recipient of these services. Did a video once with the food bank, and we followed a woman and she was a single mom, her and her kids to a farmer's market, shot some video of them picking out the food. We went home with them and watched them cook it for dinner that night and shot video of them sitting at the table eating that food. So it showed the process. It showed, look, this is what happens. This is how it works. And these are the people you're impacting. These are the people that your services are having an impact on. So it's just really important to think about who your audience is, and that will help you determine who you have on camera. So what kind of video do you include in the video? Well, action, action, action. I mean, we don't really call it this anymore, but it is moving pictures. We want the pictures to be moving. So that means movement within the frame of the video, people, playing a game, people cooking a meal, people on the assembly line, people doing things. Even if it's as simple as walking down the hall, we want movement. Go to where that subject lives and works. In this image here, this is the woman who we followed from the food bank. And so we went to her home. We could have easily just said, hey, can you meet us at the food bank and we'll interview you here? but that's out of her element. She's not comfortable there. We want her to be comfortable. And so we went to her home, we shot video in her home, we talked to her in her home. It showed where she lives. And it's the same thing with for people where they work, go to where it happens. It's always where it happens. You can always set up in a studio as a last resort. And there are places for that. I'm not saying there's not. There are places for that. But for me, it's very important. Go to where it happens. Go to where the action is, because you're trying to capture the moment. And then say dog, see dog. So for whatever is said on camera or in the video, whether that's an interview or whether that's a voiceover, whatever is said, always think about what you can use to illustrate that. So whether it's a piece of video or whether it's a graphic or whether it's a still picture. So if we're talking about this widget company, I want to see widgets on camera if that's what we're talking about. If we're talking about how the employees love working at this widget company, and they have smiles on their, I want to see video of the employees smiling and laughing and having a good time and enjoying each other's company. So say dog, see dog. It's just whatever you're talking about on camera, visually or audio, you need to have a visual representation of that. And again, that could be a graphic. I mean, if it's a bunch of statistics or if it's a bunch of information that you think would be better shown in a graphic format, that's fine too. But it's always good to cover up the people talking, unless you have a very specific reason for having them on camera. So what I do is we start projects with this video marketing workshop. And these are some of the guidelines that I go over with when we go through this workshop. We talk about the philosophy of the video first. How do you define success? So what do you define success for this particular project? What do you want to get out of it? Now, the one thing that we stay away from that we can't say, well, this video is going to get 1,000 views and 100 likes or 200 likes or 30 shares or whatever on Facebook. I don't know how that's going to happen. It's hard to predict how that will happen. It depends on 1,000 other things. So the success is not necessarily, well, we want to make sure we get 1,000 people to watch this video. That's not necessarily the success. The success is how do you want people to move and motivate? Where do you want them what do you want them to feel? That kind of thing. And then the keywords. Now, these keywords are words that drive the video forward. These are words that are not necessarily mentioned during the video. For example, did one recently, and there were a couple of keywords were inspiring and life-saving and life-changing. And we did use the word life-changing in one of the interviews because one of the interview subjects actually said that, but it's not necessarily. So these are the words that drive that video forward. I want this video to show that this organization is inspiring. I want this video to show that this organization is life-changing. So how do we do that? We do that through interviews, or we do that through the video, through the B-roll that shows how we are changing a person's life. The tactical is kind of the tangible things like, approximate length. I don't like to really get caught up on length unless you have a specific length, because it's like for a TV commercial and you can only do 30 seconds or you can only do a minute or whatever. But generally speaking, what's the length? Where is it going to go? The placement of it, is it going to go social media? Are you just going to share it on YouTube only? Is it going to go in a fundraiser live type situation? Who's your target audience? Things like that. Those are the tactical. The characters, who are we seeing on camera? Who are we hearing on camera? Who are we talking to? Who are we interviewing? Who are we showing video of? Who are the players in this? And then the plot is the story structure, the flow, and then the viewer's journey. What type of journey are we going to take this viewer on? In the case of this one that I did for the food bank, the journey was as though they were going along with this single mom and her family as they go through the farmer's market, as they cook, as they sit down to eat and have this family meal, all because of what the food bank and its donors provided. So what is the journey that we go on? And when we go through this workshop, we talk about all this, we put it all on a whiteboard and we figure all this stuff out. And then we develop a video blueprint that guides the production after that. Okay. Now, where should your video live? Well, we've got YouTube and Vimeo. If you're not familiar with Vimeo, it is just like YouTube, except you have to pay for it. And it doesn't have any ads. It doesn't include anything like that. It's more of a more of a higher end, more of a professional. I mean, all video production companies have use Vimeo as opposed to YouTube. The benefit of YouTube is it's free. It doesn't cost anything. Anybody can create a YouTube channel, and it's just like creating a Facebook or a Twitter account. It's the same thing. You should always put, to me, you should always choose one of these, YouTube or Vimeo, and put it up there and just leave it there. Put it in there, let it, because for YouTube, it's shareable. It's searchable through Google searches. So you put good keywords in there, have good SEO, you put it up there, people can always find it. People can always use it there. Same thing with Vimeo. It's not necessarily searchable through Google, but it's a great place to leave your video. And if you're going to embed it onto your website, it's a great site to use, and then embed it on your site. And then you want to post your video. You have a video on your website, whether it's just a kind of a sizzle reel, a highlight reel off the top showing, like in the case of a widget company, like kind of the manufacturing and people and some nice drone aerial shots, just to kind of give people a perspective of your company. For those, you want to post it and just leave it there. Once you get it up there, make sure you have good SEO and good tags, and just leave it up there. For social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, you want to share and share again. And then when you're done sharing and sharing again, you want to share it even more. You want to just continue to share that up there. Now, the key with these sites is you don't want to post that using a link from YouTube or using a link from Vimeo. You want to take the video file itself and upload it directly to Facebook. And the reason why, and all those social media channels. And the reason why is because those social media channels don't want the viewer to leave. So they give you, your algorithm, more points, however you want to say it. They give you more credit, and they will share that video to more people if you upload it directly to Facebook. Because if you put a link on there and somebody clicks on that link in Facebook, they're leaving Facebook and going to YouTube. Well, Facebook doesn't like that. They want you to stay on Facebook. So upload it directly to Facebook and to the others, just to make sure that you optimize and take full advantage of the opportunities that you're given. So how do you stand out on social media? How does your video stand out? One, don't force a sell. Consumers nowadays are very critical. Some might say cynical. Don't force a sell. They know when they're being sold something to. In the case of flex tape, that's kind of their niche. So if you develop a little niche to do some of a style like that, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But don't force a sell. Just say, this is who we are. This is our organization. This is our brand. Again, it's all about the feels. How do you want people to feel? Sad, motivated, inspired, funny, laugh, however you want them to feel. That's the driving force. So ask yourself that. Save the best for first. You literally have less than 2 seconds to capture the viewer's attention when it comes to a video on social media. They know right away, once they're scrolling through that, the first 2 seconds that they see, are they going to keep going? Are they going to make it to 10 seconds? Are they going to make it to 20? Are they going to go to 30? So have your best clip, interview, whatever, at the very beginning. A lot of people think, well, it doesn't work that way in terms of chronologically. we don't have to tell stories in a chronological manner. One of my favorite shows from the 90s was the X-Files, and they would always start the show with, you know, Mulder and Scully, you know, handcuffed in a dungeon somewhere, and they're like trying to fight to get out. And they roll the open, and then it says 2 weeks earlier, and it takes you to that point, because it caught me as like, well, how'd they get to that point? I want to see it. So it's the same thing. You don't necessarily have to tell the story in a chronological format or chronological way. You want to have your best video, your best audio, whatever it is that you can capture people's attention. You want that off the beginning. And sometimes that means a lot of people might want to put their logo at the top, like, oh, we want to put our logo. This is the XYZ company. Well, people see that logo like, oh, I'm going to just keep going because there's nothing really interesting right there. And then a call to action. We all know what that is. Call to action at the end. How can people support your organization? Is there a website that you want them to go to? Is there a phone number that you want them to go to? Is there an email? Make it simple, make it easy, make it easy to understand. No more than one, like, you know, for more information, click xyz.com or go to xyz.com. Make sure that the link and everything is really easy to find and easy to read and easy to remember. You don't want a really long URL address, and people aren't clicking on it. So it's not like you can't click on the video and it takes you there. You have to have a link outside in the text or whatever you're sharing. So just, you got to make it easy to understand. You got to make it simple to understand. You got to make it quick for people to know exactly where to go and what they're going to do when they get there. So I hope that helps. I hope that helps people understand a little bit about video marketing and just kind of some of the ways to take the best of your situation and put it all together. It really, it's how the video looks, it's how the video sounds, it's how the video moves and motivates the viewer, and all of that goes into planning, and all that goes into the pre-production before you actually hit record. So I hope everybody enjoys it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here and hand it back to Elizabeth. And if anybody has any questions, I think we're going to go to that. But Elizabeth, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you so much. That was really interesting. I think I'm sharing my screen.
Yep.
Okay. It just doesn't want to move forward. Why are we not moving forward? There we go. Nope, now too far. All right. So I asked people kind of a few questions to get us started, but so some of the things that came up were, you know, what are people searching for in videos? What are some different ways I can use the same video content? I think, Dan, you really addressed, you know, what are people searching for in videos, but how can you use, what are different ways that you can use the same video content?
Well, so first we can talk about that bottom one too, because they kind of go together, is what's the right length for a marketing video? Facebook says they like videos that are no more than 3 minutes long. It used to be 2 minutes, and I always thought attention spans are getting shorter, but apparently they're getting longer, since Facebook says they now like videos to be no longer than 3 minutes long. The key with those videos is you want to make sure that you're talking about one thing, that you don't just chock it full of information. I always say, you know, we always have people that we meet that just are nonstop talkers, and when we get done, we just kind of feel exhausted when we're done having a conversation with them. It's the same thing with a video. You want to have one focus within that video. So for the length, you want it to be about 3 minutes long, but it's better to have 3 1-minute videos or 4 1-minute videos than 1 4-minute video. So what you can do is you can cut it down. You can plan on, I mean, in this day and age, content is currency. So you want to, if you have a 4-minute video, maybe you can cut it down, that kind of introduces you to, you know, the subject who uses your, and I'll go back. I did one for 12 and 12, which is an alcohol and addiction treatment center. We told the story of an individual who went through the program and started his own business. And in the middle of the video, we talked about 12 and 12, what type of things they offer. So we were talking about two different things in it. We talked about this guy's story. We talked about 12 and 12. Well, then we took those two subjects that were in one video and we broke them apart. We had one video of just the guy who went through the program and one video that was just the what 12 and 12 is all about. So you can use that, you can cut that down into different snackable size content that are maybe 1 minute long or 45 seconds long. I'm sure you've probably seen a commercial on TV. You've probably seen like, you know, a 1 minute long commercial, and then maybe the next commercial break, it's pretty much the exact same commercial, except it's 15 seconds long or it's 30 seconds long. So basically they just cut out a bunch of stuff. So you can cut that down into snackable type of videos in type of content. Again, that way that gives you 4 videos to post instead of just one video to post, which is a good reminder that when you're doing marketing videos, it's not a one and done. You're not just going to do one video and it's going to solve all of your marketing problems. It's going to pull in all these supporters, organizations, people, whatever. You want multiple videos. So if you do that, you're thinking, well, I need this 4-minute video for this presentation or for this fundraiser. Well, then take that, cut it down into a minute long each. Now you have 4 1-minute videos plus your 4-minute that you can share on Facebook, on your social media channel. I hope that helps.
What other questions do you guys have today?
Let's see, there's some in the chat here. So Deborah asked, what easy editing tools do you recommend before we upload to social media? I mean, it depends on your level of expertise of how comfortable you are editing. If you use Mac and you're
all right, low level. Start with the low and then work your way up.
Do you use Mac or PC?
It's PC.
So I use Mac, so it's hard for me to speak to PC, but Mac has their own iMovie editing software, and I would imagine that there is the same thing out there for a PC. Professional editing is like Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro. Those are professional. I think you would need to have some sort of a background or understanding of video editing. I mean, if you shoot things on your phone, you can edit on your iPhone. Again, I don't use Android or any of those other type of phones, so I don't know if you can edit. I'm sure you can. I'd be shocked if you couldn't. So unfortunately I can't speak to PC, but there has to be a pretty simple editing software out there for a PC. We kind of talked about length. You know, you really have to be I don't like to when I'm talking with clients about videos, I don't like to say, well, let's do a 2-minute video, because if we can tell the story in a minute, let's tell it in a minute. If we need 2 minutes, let's tell it in 2 minutes. If we need 3 minutes, let's do that. Again, it depends on where you're going to put the video, that kind of thing. One thing to keep in mind about social media is if you have a business page, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or whatever, think of it as your own TV channel. Don't think of it as your own social media or Facebook page. Think of it as your own TV channel, and then think about any TV channel that you watch on a regular basis. Channel 6, for example, where I used to work. Think about the programming that's on there. I mean, they have comedies, they have dramas, they have news programs, they have sports programs. I mean, there's all kinds of programming on that TV channel. It's the same thing for your social media. That is your TV channel. So think about, you have to program that. And so what are you going to put on it? Well, I'm not just going to put the same, inspiring, motivational, get people to cry video. Because then what happens is people are like, well, I don't want to go to Dan's Facebook page because he's just going to make me cry. I don't feel like crying today. So maybe I'm going to have different videos up there. Some that's going to make me cry, some that's going to make people laugh, because I want the viewer, when they come to my page, when they see my name on their Facebook page that they're like, well, I don't know what I'm going to get today, so let's just stick around. It's just one more reason for them to stick around. So you want to have a variety of emotions within your videos, whether it's like I said, whether it's sad or inspiring, or that you want to make people laugh, however it is, you want to make sure it varies from video to video.
Dan, I have a question. I've noticed, especially with younger people, they have a lot of music in the background when they're talking about particular subjects. Is music recommended, or does it just depend on what you're talking about?
Well, a lot of it just depends. I always use music as another character. Again, the music to me is what's used to drive home whatever the emotion is.
Hmm.
So that's what I always try to use. You don't want it to be, music's funny. You don't want it to be so overwhelming that people notice it, but you also don't want it to be so quiet or not have it to where people feel awkward. So the music can really move the video forward. It can really help you achieve that emotional goal. It can also, if you use the wrong music or you don't use music in a situation where you should, it can also cause the viewer, a lot of times the viewer, they turn away from a video for a reason that they may not realize. They click onto and they see a video, and it might subconsciously register to them, all right, I don't want to watch this because the first thing I saw was the logo. They don't know that. They just know they don't want to watch it. It's the same thing with music, and then like the color in the video clips. People don't really notice it. They just know, well, there's something really weird about that video. It sounded funny, or the music didn't really go with what they were talking about. They don't think that. They just think that was weird. And then they just don't watch. So it's really important to, you really have to take it seriously what type of music you're putting in there. Now, if we're talking, like TikTok or some of those Instagram, what's called Instagram Reels videos, things like that, that's a totally different animal than what we're talking about today. But I think music is very important to help draw the emotion.
Dan, do you want to talk about your offer that you wanted to provide?
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted, I'm passionate about video storytelling, and I think every organization, big, small, no matter what it is, you need to utilize video marketing and video storytelling to move your brand and move your mission forward. So I'm really excited to offer to everybody who is watching today a free video audit of your website. If you go to my website, bewleyproductions.com/king-webinar, there'll be a form there that you can fill out, put your name, email, and your website address. And I will go through the website and I will look to see how you are using video, if you're using it. And I will look to see places that, if you're not using it, don't be afraid. I'll look at it and make some suggestions on places where I think you can use video to help move your marketing forward, places where you maybe to help get you some new leads or perhaps generate more support for your organization. So I'll be doing a video audit, and I'm really proud to offer this for free to anybody who wants to take advantage of this. And I'll go through and just kind of give you my 2 cents on how you're using it and what you can do to take everything to the next level.
Well, that is really cool and very generous. So thank you very much for offering that. And thank you so much for sharing. There was so much great stuff in your presentation today that I hope everybody got a lot of good information about, how to use video, how to improve your own marketing videos. There we go. See, I did it again. So if you enjoyed this today, the next 2 things coming up in our webinar series. So we've got on September 21st, we're going to be talking about how to use LinkedIn to grow your business. That's another tool that a lot of people are using these days, especially since the pandemic. It really kicked off a lot last year. A lot more people are using it. So how to effectively use LinkedIn. In October, we're going to be talking about how to easily get your business found online. And how do you get found online without wasting your time and money is really what we're going to be talking about. Also want to open it up to you guys. If you have ideas on other webinar topics, I want to keep this series going, and I want to make sure that it is relevant for your businesses. So if there are topics that you want to learn more about, please let me know. And then truly, I just really want to say thank you for being here today. Thank Dan again for sharing all of his knowledge and wisdom with us. And then if you have any questions about marketing or marketing strategy, my email is here. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to visit with you about your marketing. And so with that, we are right at 11 o'clock. And so I'm going to give you guys your day back. And I hope that you have a great one. See you later.